Kính bạch xong, kính thưa đại chúng, hôm nay là ngày 6 tháng 6 năm 2021 và mình đang ở thiên đường nước tỉnh xóm Thường, Làng Mai, Pháp Quốc. Hôm nay là một ngày nắng rất là đẹp và con cảm thấy rằng cách đây khoảng 30 giây con có mặt ở đây. Con phải cho đại chúng một bài pháp thoại, bởi vì chủ nhật con đã cho đại chúng một bài rồi nên con chưa có chưa có
My two wonderful brothers will share. Maybe I ask them some questions. So I'd like to start by just introducing us. We are the pear tree family. The brothers, at least. Maybe next time we have a chance to hear from the pear tree sisters. We also have some pear tree brothers in other centers, in the US, in Germany, in Thailand, in Vietnam. But we are the three pear tree brothers who happen to be in Plum Village right now. So what does that mean? It means we ordained together on the same day as a family. Thầy Pháp Ao and Thầy Pháp Kha were ordained in Vietnam, and I was here in France. But we ordained together in the same moment even. It was online, so it was very much together as a family, non-locally. And our family received the name the pear tree family. So all the families, monastic families, usually have a tree name, sometimes not, but generally a tree. And that's our tree. So Thầy Pháp Kha was invited to give a talk, and then he said, I will go up, but only if you come with me and sit next to me. So that's why I'm sitting here. And it's really, it's a beautiful aspect of our monastic culture that we ordain together as a family. And I think that is related to the topic I want to invite our brothers to share about, which is building community. So last week I tried to talk about overcoming the suffering caused by individualism, and how do we see our interbeing nature and learn to trust each other and see that we are part of a bigger family. In our human groups, in our sanghas, we get in touch with our sangha body, and then we get in touch with the whole world and see that we're interconnected with all life. But I heard from many brothers and sisters they couldn't understand anything I said, or not much. And it was very long and very complicated. So today we get a second try, and hopefully we can improve a little bit, make it a little bit more practical and more applicable. Because I do believe that many of us see that to find ways to come together and to let go of the illusion of separateness is the challenge of this century. And that if we continue to exist as with this idea of being totally separate and always competing with each other to be the best, to be number one, to make the most money, to have the best job, and so on, then we can destroy our planet like that. And that the solution that Thai has offered us and many other spiritual leaders have offered us is to find ways to build community. And we go further in Plum Village. We call it building brotherhood and sisterhood. So it's more than community. It's like family. So we are monks. We've been ordained a bit more than 13 years, And in principle, if we continue on our paths, then none of us will have children. Well, it's true, right? We're monks, so we're not going to have children. And yet, we talk about family. So there's something very intimate about this idea of the connections that can exist between us as spiritual friends on the path, as spiritual practitioners. And now we are getting into middle age, right? No, not quite. They're younger than me. Maybe I'm getting old. They're still young. But as monastics, after 10, 12, 13 years, people start saying that, oh, you're an elder brother now. But personally, I don't really feel like an elder brother. I feel like I still have a lot to learn. And yet we are already in the position of having to teach. So we have to sit here, say things, hopefully helpful things. And we have to have mentees. Sometimes we're invited to train a group of young men who would like to become monks, so aspirants. And that's a huge challenge. It's not obvious how we should do that. So that's one thing I'd like to ask my brothers about. I think what we're talking about, it reminds me of one of our elder brothers called Thai Mantue. He was in Plum Village at the time I ordained. And then he moved, I think, to Blue Cliff, or maybe back to Vietnam. And then I think now he's in Magnolia Grove. Is that right? Or Blue Cliff, okay. Yeah. You can find him on YouTube. He's a big YouTube star. He has some really cool Tai Chi and Kung Fu, kind of Qigong videos. And it's like, I don't know, 1 million views or more. He's a real, Kung Fu master. He's a wonderful, wonderful brother, very inspirational. So when I ordained, he was already ordained for many years. And so he really enjoyed sitting and drinking tea with the brothers and sharing together. And if you ever went into the room and he's there, and you ask, what are you talking about? He would always say, we're talking about establishing Buddhism in the West. And no matter what was being discussed, that was what was being discussed. And actually, it's true. I notice very often, when we're sitting, speaking, just hanging out with the brothers, drinking tea, and I ask myself, what are we really talking about? Oh, yeah, we're talking about establishing Buddhism in the West. And not really in the West. I mean, that's just an expression, but really it's just about, the question of how do we contribute to creating a more healthy and compassionate society. And I think for us, those of us who choose to ordain and become monastics, a big part of that is making sure that there are healthy monastic communities. And Thai has given us this tradition of creating monastic practice centers where we can offer retreats, where we can offer a refuge for people to come and refresh themselves and learn and train in mindfulness. And that's our service. That's how we want to offer to the world. So it's a big question, how do we maintain a thriving and healthy monastic community? Monastic life is wonderful, but sometimes not easy. And we know that many brothers and sisters leave after some time. And yet somehow we're still here. So I want to know why. Why are these guys still here? We could be doing something else. But here we are. So maybe, the first question I'd like to ask you, if it's okay, is about the joys and the challenges of training your younger brothers, or aspirants, or your mentees. What is it that gives you energy in that process, that makes you, that you feel inspired and you feel like, wow, okay, this is really possible. I really see the transformation. And what is it sometimes that's difficult? Because it's really, it's a challenging task that we've been given and that we're learning about as we go. And I think it's not just about monastic training, it's not just about monastic life, because all of us who are Sangha builders, we face these challenges of how do we form healthy groups, communities of practice. And it can even be applied at the level of the family. If you're a parent, how should we be a good parent? What does it mean to love, but also to offer clarity and boundaries, and maybe we help each other to avoid getting caught in suffering. And that, at least for us in the monastic community, that can involve reminding each other, correcting each other. It's very challenging to do that with love. And sometimes in the Sangha, we can be in a situation where, many people are very easy to get along with, it's very harmonious, but maybe there's one person in the Sangha is very, very challenging. How do we handle that situation? We can't just kick them out, Sometimes we have to find a way to stick together and learn from each other, but also safeguard the whole space for everybody. So this is the kind of challenge I think we face with this task of training and transmitting the practice of mindfulness and also precepts, ethics. And I think it's particularly challenging maybe for us sometimes because we, at least I speak for myself, and I think it's true to some extent for those of us who grown up in a kind of post-industrial or industrial society or education system. We want community, but we also don't want to give up our individualism or our individuality. So we want both. And that can lead to some challenges and some contradictions. So, who would like to start? Maybe Tefa Ao? You ready? Thank you.
Dear respected Thai dear community, I think for myself, like when the first time I accept in order to train a first group of aspirants, it's a bit challenge for myself. And yeah, I'm a bit worried too, because I
I don't know what to train, what to teach them, but as a practitioner, I just want to transmit whatever I have been learned from Thầy or from the community to the new practitioner. Yeah, even us, when we just came to the monastery, is a lot. We also have a lot of confused and challenged too. Even though we want to change, but somehow deep down inside of us, we don't want to do. Even though we want to transform our suffering, but we feel that, oh, I don't want to do it. and it's already a bit of conflict inside of ourselves, even though we see that, oh, it can be benefits for us, it's helpful, but somehow we cannot do it. But as a long-term practitioner, we might see that if we don't able to change, it's hard to go further in our practice. So that's why we have to open up, or we have to have open-minded in order to trainable. Otherwise, if we stubborn, we are it's a challenge for the people who teach, and also it's a challenge for us too. So I think in the community, maybe everybody know that I'm not much sharing or like teaching in the community, but I'm kind of very practical, very maybe handy. I'm working more than sharing or talking. Yeah, and as a practitioner, and also for myself, when the first time training the new group of aspirants, I just share like whatever I have been learning and also observing in the community, that we might have some point in order to, or some maybe some practice for us to do in order to live in the community. And the first thing I want to share is that we have to practice letting go. It's not only the letting go the material stuff, but also letting go our idea. Because sometimes when we first came to monastery, we have an idea, oh, it have to be like this, or it have to be like that, but somehow it's not like what we want. It's kind of, maybe it's a bit different, but that's the first thing we have to practice. Like, Thầy also shared that, sometimes we want to do sitting meditation in order to become a Buddha or to be enlightenment, and that notion is made you like, not cannot become a Buddha unless you let go that idea. And the second thing is openness. For myself, if we cannot open, then it's hard for us to listen or to accept things in the community, because especially in Plumlist, we are in the diverse community. It's many different countries, many different background, culture, and if we're not open in order to live together, and then it can be a bit a challenge for us too, because each and one of us, we have different background, and then if we just think that, oh, in my culture you have to do like this, you have to do like that, you don't respect the other people, then you suffer, and you also make the other person suffer too. So that's why for my practice, I also practice open. For myself, when the first time I came to Plum Village in beginning of 2009, it's also a challenge for me too, because before I didn't living in the community with many Westerners. I'm surrounded by like most of the Vietnamese people, and yeah, like when I first came here, when I saw any Western brother or sister, or even the Western practitioner, I will turn away. Because maybe in that time I'm afraid of speaking, and also, I don't understand English either, and yeah, it's a bit challenge for me to face with someone else if I cannot understand what they said, or I cannot say something make them understand, and then I have to. Yeah, but lately, when I have been Thai attendant, and like sometimes people come to ask, oh, can I see Thai, or can I talk to Thai, or something like that, or Thai want to transmit a message to somebody, and then I have to, I have to do it, so that's why I cannot say no, Thai, that I don't understand English, and I cannot share to them what you want to say, then it's hard for me too, and Thầy always say bèo quá. I don't know. So too bad. It's also motivation. It's a motivation for me to learn English too, and yeah, and yeah, that's how I practice in order to living in this community. And yeah, and the third thing is for our practice, we have to practice humble and respect. If we're not humble enough, we're not respect enough, then it's hard for us to practice the other thing too. If like, oh, I know everything, you don't have to share that to me, okay? I'm good enough, then then yeah, it's hard for us to accept a new thing, and also in Vietnamese we always say that kính lão đắc thọ. It means if you respect the older, so you can live longer. So that's how we yeah, that's how we have been trained and and learning from the older generation. Mm. Yeah. And yeah, and another aspect is living harmony in the community. Uh, so, like I said before, that we are living in the diverse community with many culture. But if we don't accept each other, we don't open in order to change, and it's hard for us to live in harmony together. And living harmony is a it's the most important thing we might practice in our community. Yeah, when we say living harmony, it's also contain many different aspects behind. But and maybe if we want to learn, so you may come to Plumberless, or you might discover more what's behind the living harmony. And also another aspect of training. Is we might offer our capacity to the community. Like myself, I just maybe I'm a bit lucky that I can do something by my hand or by my way of contribution in the community, and that's what I offer to the community. Maybe I'm not sharing, I'm not teaching much, but whatever I do, so that's the way I contribute to build the community. Yeah, it's yeah, but yeah, even in the training, we also have a lot of joyful, but also in the other hand, it's also a lot of challenge. When we see our brother had been transformed, he have a lot of joy or happiness, we happy too. But after training, after a few year practice, then they will like we see them like always like walking around without attention or without any awareness. Then we a bit worried too. we might ask that, oh, what's wrong with him? Yeah, it's not. And then yeah, for me, it's always have a question like, what can I help you, in order to get better in the practice. But yeah, but only for myself is not enough. So that's why we need a community. But even living in the community, it's also a challenge, because sometimes we share that, oh, we are practitioners, we practice together, but some of us, like after few years of practice, oh, you don't want to go to sitting anymore, you don't want to join walking anymore, and then somehow in myself that it create a perception, about that person, why they don't want to practice, why they didn't come for the sitting. Then the more I care for the community, the more I worry about the life or the joyful of the community. I think this question had been asking to to many elder brother and sister in the community, how we can help our community. Even though we're just a small community, but it's already a lot of challenge for ourselves, but then you can see, how much thing they have to carry on his shoulder with the large number of the community around the world, We just a small community here, but, just few brother and sister, they don't want to practice, they don't want to, then we already suffer that. Yeah, but it's then one of us, we have to practice for ourselves too. We not let that thing become our burden. We have to. Sometimes I have to say to myself that, instead of complaining or blaming, you have to accepting. Otherwise, I will suffer more and more, even though I care for the community a lot, but somehow I have to care for myself too. It's not only how I care for the community, but also how do I care for myself, for my joy and happiness too. And as a trainer, I experience myself that as same as when I taking care for the garden or taking care for the plant. When we plant something, we wholeheartedly put our heart in order to taking care of it. Like the young tree just coming out from the soil, so we might protect them from the slug or from the snail. So don't wanna get any slug or snail come and eat that vegetable or that tree, and then we have to protect them by many different ways. Same as our younger brother in the community too. And when it grow up, we have different kind to take care. When you plant a cucumber and when the vines coming up to the structure, so we might use the cable, not the string, in order to tie the vines to go to climb to the structure. But if we tie it too tight, and we can damage the plant, or we can damage the tree. And then if I'm tied too loose, then the tree will fall down. It's not like what we want. And in the practice, also the same, like sometimes we also want to direct the community to very strict practice, but sometimes we also it's okay, but not to turn to the other way around. And that's how I practice in order to nourish myself, and also to nourish a community. For me it's many things, but I just said something like that in order for the community to understand how am I practice, and then maybe Thầy Pháp can share more about his practice.
Dear respected Thầy, dear brothers, dear sisters and friends, my heart beats very fast now. Sitting here, beside the feeling of being like nervous, I also am also sensing the energy that is happening also in my heart at the moment, which is gratitude, or I would say honor. On my right is Brotherhood Ao, and on my left is Brother Pháp Linh. And just such an honor to sit among them, you know. And something funny also that every day I walk in Hamlet or wherever I see Brother Pháp Linh or Brother Pháp Ao, Sister Hiến Nghiêm, Sister Hào Nghiêm, Sister Sĩ Nghiêm, moving around in Hamlet or a certain gathering. Sometimes it just like popped up an idea into my mind that, oh, this brother is my family, is in my family. That sister is in my family. And it's like the feeling of happiness just like arises naturally, and it's a great source of joy to me, just by recognizing that we are in the same family. To me, it is already beautiful enough. You don't have to say, you don't have to do anything. Just be there. Just be there in my life, by my life. To me, this is the beauty of an ordination family that we are transmitted by Thầy. And this is something that I want to share with a group of brothers that I have the class with. And to me, having the ordination family where we can support each other, where we can be with each other. It is something very precious in the long run. I find it very nourishing every time that we have a gathering. I mean, the ordination family gathering. Even though in our daily life we don't have much verbal communication or interaction or conversation, for example, because you have your own world of serving in the community. I do have my own world of serving in the community. And somehow our appearance of being in the Sangha is not very, it's not very like physically together. But every time that we have a gathering, I can easily have a sense of like intimacy. And I could put it as like non-verbal communication in order to reach that intimacy, you know. And this is another beauty of ordination family. You don't have to talk much in order to understand each other, right? And I remember when I first time met Brother Pháp Linh and Sister Hiến Nghiêm many years ago, like 2010, 12, something in Thailand. I had the same feeling. Even though we didn't have any like interaction before, and it was our first time seeing each other, but then there was already certain intimacy in it, you see? And to me, this is something very beautiful. If I know you without having the idea of you belong to the pair family, the sense, the experience that I could have, it would be different. So to me, this is something beautiful and miraculous. And I would like to share this with the group of the aspirant to be. You can slowly think of who are having the same aspiration on this path with you. That you can slowly build up this kind of spirit. Relating to the how I find ways to nourish myself so that I can remain here today, sitting with my brothers. Particularly, I would have to say that during my time in Thailand, I spent 7 years staying in Thai Plum Village community. I somehow received and got trained and grew in the way that I feel quite fulfilled. And saying to this, I feel I have a lot of gratitude to the Thai Plum Village community, because staying over there, I received enough conditions for me to be in touch with something very deep in Thai teachings, in this tradition, and coming here, it was a bit challenging for me at the beginning as well, because like different cultures and stuff, the diversity of the environment. I think like the reason that made me being able to change myself to adapt in order to integrate into this community, in order to also learn things, new things from this community, it is because I have received the very beautiful things in the environment that I was before. That is why when I am in the difficult moments where I have to deal with the feeling of this disconnectedness in me, somehow I sense it at the beginning, living here. So I try to take up what I have learned from that community, from Thai Plum Village, to apply and to find my ways of nourishing myself. And somehow it worked. It worked. And the saying of Thầy that really embedded into my mind, to my recollection, is that the Sangha is in you. You are the Sangha. Lately, we had, when I was having the class with the brothers, there was one brother asking me how to practice in order to take root in the Sangha. And I wanted to share this, but somehow I didn't have a chance to say this. So now, this is my time to answer that certain brother this question as well. The first practice, if you want to take root in the Sangha, you have to come closer to the Sangha. Not physically, but like mentally, spiritually. You have to see whatever you practice will affect directly to the energy of the Sangha. And your joy is the joy of the Sangha. And your suffering is also the suffering of the Sangha. You have to train. This is a training. Because as Brother Linh was mentioning before, we tend to think that our suffering is somehow we are the only one who is responsible for it. And to me, this is something that it takes some certain trainings for us to really shift this way of thinking. And over the years that I stay in the Sangha, I received a lot of beautiful qualities of a community life. How to build brotherhood and sisterhood. The way they shared, somehow, I have to be honest, because it sounds a bit idealistic, but it is there in my heart, and I have to be honest with myself, because it touches something deep, very deep in my heart. And I want to share it with the brothers who I'm taking care. I mean, in terms of having the class with them. I received such beauties. Obviously, I just want to offer. And this is something that motivates me to have inspiration to come to the class and to offer the glass to the brothers. And when I see brothers like listening to what I share with the bright eyes, it's a great nourishment for me. I also see that the session of being together with the brothers, it is not also the time where I have to share, but it is also the time for me to learn, and also at the same time, it's also the opportunity for those brothers to understand me, not to understand my good qualities, but also understand what are my weaknesses, what am I struggling with in terms of practice, and I feel like the communication is slowly established when I am honest with my weaknesses in the practice, and I feel like communication is being made from those moments. And relating to the concern of Brother Pháp Linh, there are certain of us who come from industrial societies, and how can we totally leave our individualism, our individual way of thinking? Like we want both, stuff like that, ambitious, stuff like that. For me, I could say that I would live my life in the way that radiates the energy of togetherness and the energy of brotherhood and sisterhood. We have to show something like the most beautiful things of a community life to the people around us, and we just offer. And if those certain brothers and sisters, if they are able to see and test that flavor of brotherhood and sisterhood, and they do benefit from it, and then naturally, miraculously, they will find ways to do the reflection and see what satisfies them more, and then they will know what to do, what to practice. And this is my, from my humble opinion. Maybe in the future it could change, I'm not sure. But this is something currently happening in my mind. And I would like to stop now.
You're not free yet. I'm going to ask you another question. But I am so happy. I'm so happy. And also, feel this joy and this honor of sitting next to my brothers. But I'm so happy to hear them share as well, because it is maybe a little bit rare. And so that if I can be a condition to help them to start to offer their Dharma and their insight to the world, then I am very happy. This is a wonderful moment. I forgot at the beginning, I wanted to water my brother's flowers because they are both... Too late, sorry. They are both true Sangha builders. And I think you've seen that already in their way of sharing. But it's, I feel like I learn from them a lot in this aspect. And there are so many ways to build the Sangha, but whether, like Thầy Pháp Ao, he says he's handy and, but that's not all. Of course, like building the Sangha is also building physically, like this meditation hall, wherever if there's concrete being poured somewhere, Thầy Pháp Ao is probably there, making sure it's done right. Or building a deck or, fixing something. So of course, that is also building the Sangha. But just in being present, in being joyful, in having energy, in offering care and love, and I feel like one of the biggest aspects that we can learn is to be generous, to always be generous, to always share what we have. And, you know, maybe it's more so for those of us coming from the West, that it's hard. Like, we really have to learn. For example, something I learned very early on when I was an aspirant is whenever anybody has any kind of food, it gets shared with however many people are there. And it doesn't matter how little is, you know, each little piece, you just make sure everybody has some. So if you have an orange, you know, you're only going to eat one slice of that orange. And at first that was actually quite hard for me. I was like, it's my orange. I want to eat the orange, you know. But there's something so beautiful, and you give it to everybody else first, and maybe it comes back, there's no more orange, you know. But I learned that from my brothers. You know, I see their way is just to offer, to make sure everybody else is served first. These little things, very simple things, but when we have that training, then we also get to meet the resistance to the training. So we get to have a close encounter with whatever it is in us which is resisting that kind of spirit. And that's where we can really learn. So if I don't want to share my orange, then but my training is to share the orange, then I have to get in touch with the part of me that is more selfish. And it gets to be, in that moment, a little bit embraced, a little bit transformed. And every time that comes up, and that's part of our training, then we get to meet that part that's still grasping, clinging, maintaining our separate identity. So it's in these very, very simple practical things I feel like we can, there's a lot of this training in letting go of this attachment to, you know, me first, that kind of view. And actually I believe that if we're able to let that go, then what is naturally there is generosity, is compassion, is connection, is the kind of like the intuition in our body that we are actually interconnected and interdependent. I want to ask my brothers also about their experience with Thai, with our teacher, because I know that that's, everybody's usually very curious about that. Thai Pháp Ao had the chance to be Thai's attendant for a long time. I'm sure he has many stories. And because we're talking about training, I thought maybe it's interesting to ask if you remember a time that Thai scolded you. I know I remember a time when Thai scolded me. So maybe I can share that story first. And I really feel it's related to this theme of individualism and pride, because pride is what gets in the way. So it happened that year, I don't know when, maybe 2010, 2011, there were many tours, teaching tours with Thai, and I had the good fortune to be able to go, and we went to many different countries. I think that year it was Taiwan, and Hong Kong, Thailand, South Korea, and then we came back and we went straight to Germany, and then from there we were going to go straight back to Plum Village, the summer retreat, and then continue to the US, another 3-month tour in the US. So it was kind of a little bit non-stop. And after the Asia tour, when we came back to Germany, for whatever reason, I had some suffering coming up, and I felt like I had enough. I can't handle this. This is too much. Actually, I was dealing maybe with some chronic pain, which had been with me for a long time. And I fell into the trap of thinking that I am the victim of this situation. And it's not fair. That's my favorite suffering. My favorite flavor of suffering ice cream. You know, give me that one again. It's not fair. How can the Sangha ask me to do this? I have to facilitate a Dharma sharing family again, and I'm so tired, and I just can't cope, and I'm in pain, and I just need to rest, and you know. So I just, my thinking and my kind of complaining was out of control. And it took over, and it started affecting my perceptions, and I started looking around me. It looked like everything's fake anyway, and look at all these people smiling, and what are they really happy about anyway? And just, I was going nuts. I was going completely nuts. And this can happen. You know? And I started complaining a lot, and I asked to go and see Thầy, and Thầy refused to see me. So then I was even more angry. Thầy won't see me. And we were in the monastic retreat in Germany, and Thầy gave a Dhamma talk, and I was sitting right at the back as far away as I possibly could. I was sitting there, and then Thầy started sharing something. He said something, I don't remember the words exactly. He said, there are some young Western brothers. And I kind of felt like the target was getting, okay, young, okay, Western, brothers, who have just been with Thầy in Asia, okay. Uh-oh. And then there was like a couple more things, and who just went to England before that. And then, and who did not support Thầy on the tour in Asia. And I was like, that's not true, not true, I did. And I felt like, it's unfair, Thầy, how dare you, you know. But suddenly, there was a moment when I knew, like, uh-oh, Thay's talking about me, and not about some Western brother, he's just talking about me. And it's very clear, and everybody knows. And I felt so humiliated. And then Thầy said something about England. And I saw red. I was like, my culture! How dare you! You don't know anything about... And my legs were like trembling. I was about to stand up and run out. I was like, I don't have to listen to this. I don't have to put up with this. Why am I sitting here? And I saw in that moment, suddenly, I have to give thanks to whatever it is that saved me in that moment. I had a moment of clarity where I saw that I had a choice. I had a choice between my pride and my teacher. And it was very clear to me that in that moment I could choose. And if I stood up and went out, sure, I could, keep my pride and say that Thầy was wrong and I was right. Or I could let it go. And say, you know what? I don't know. I take refuge in my teacher, and I trust my teacher more than my thinking in this moment. I don't trust my thinking. I don't trust this story. And I trust my teacher. And in that moment, I really made that choice. I said, I take refuge in my teacher. And I felt something, I felt like physically it just fell away into the earth. And in that very moment, I was free. All of the shame and humiliation and anger and rage and rebellion and everything was just gone. And I was just sitting there, and suddenly I could feel my breath again. And suddenly I realized, like, oh my God, I haven't even been following my breathing. Wow, this feels nice. Oh, I could feel my body again. And I could see Thai again, and I could see my brothers and sisters around me again, and I thought, wow, I was so close to losing my teacher and my community. And I remember joining the walking meditation after that, because those few days before I'd been refusing. I'm not going to walking meditation. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. It's not what I need. I need something else. But that day, I was like, well, you know what? I don't know. I'm just going to try to apply as best I can Thay's teaching. And suddenly I could feel my steps again, and the breath, and I was concentrated, and I could see the trees, and I was with my family. I had so much joy, so much happiness, so much freedom. But I felt, in the moment that Thai was scolding me, I felt like he was trying to crack the walnut, you know? It's like I had so much resistance and so much pride, and I feel like Thai knew exactly what he was doing, that he was applying the pressure more and more, a little bit more. Oh, you like, it hurts? Okay, where exactly? Here? Okay, he found the acupressure point, and he just went for it. And that takes so much compassion, actually, and courage as a teacher to take the risk, you know, of that I might react, that I might stay in my pride, get hurt, run away, rebel. But Thai knew somehow that he had to help me to let go of that pride that was holding me back. I don't say it's completely solved, but I know on that day I was really able to take a step, thanks to Thay's compassion. So that's my story with being scolded by Thai. And I just wonder, you don't have to tell a story of being scolded by Thai if that's not what comes, but maybe something else. Maybe, what is this student-teacher connection? Just before Thai's stroke, he asked me how to translate this Vietnamese expression, tin tai tro, and the love between teacher and student. And there's no word. It's like brotherhood and sisterhood, but it's like teacher-studenthood. And Thai was trying all kinds of different tricks to flip it around in English to try to find a way to say it. There isn't really a word. So maybe we just have to learn the Vietnamese word. But it's very, very important to our path, the love between teacher and student. So maybe you can share a little bit about that. And I want to make sure, before we end, that Thầy Pháp Ao shares with us his poem. Because I don't know if you know, but Thầy Pháp Ao is a romantic. I think Thầy Pháp Ca is too, but you probably know that already. I'm sure he has some poems, or maybe a song. Maybe we can ask him to sing a song at the end. He's a wonderful singer. And but last night when we were drinking tea, Thầy Pháp Ao shared with me this poem, and it's related to what he was sharing before. Sometimes you go to sitting meditation and you see maybe there's a few empty cushions. Some of your brothers didn't show up. And this is his insight as a result of, maybe suffering a little bit with that. So I hope he can share that with us as well.
Dear respected dear community. Yeah, for myself, even though I have a loss of time to do Thầy attendance from 2010 until 2017, 7 years. Yeah, but maybe I'm not kind of good student, and I'm not learning so much from Thầy, but like. Yeah, but at least I also have some story or some memory with Thầy. When I know that I'm kind of very practical person, and then whatever they say, I have to done it before they finish it. and that's then that's also sometimes they have been reminded me that you have to do it slowly and also do it in the way of practice. Like they just say that, and then I want to done it as soon as possible. And then sometimes I can have mistake too, but luckily that they didn't scold me, but like they just very gentle remind me that you have to do it according with the practice. Like sometimes they ask me to do something, and then I just run and then do, and then make it as quick as possible, and then they just you have to walk slowly. You have to make an example for your younger brother or something like that. I just I'm sorry. and also there's one time that after breakfast, and then they just asked me to go and take a rest before we walk down to Sunha, and I just came back to my room and then just take out my long robe and then take a rest a little bit. Then when I came back to the hut, and he's already gone, and I don't know where they are. Just running around residence, meditation hall, dining hall, and then transformation hall. I didn't saw they anywhere. Just go run around and ask, have you seen that? Have you seen that somewhere? And nobody saw Thầy. Then it's in my mind, just okay, maybe Thầy walk down to Sunha alone. But in the winter, you know, the soil and the forest very vast and very slippery, and they can get fall. I'm a bit afraid, and I have to run out of the forest, run as much as fast I can. And I thought when I get to the hut in Sunha, I saw they start making the fire, and I say, "Hey, why don't you call me?" And do you know that I have to run around to looking for you? and they know that I'm worried and a bit, you know, unhappy with that they gone without calling me. And then they just remind me by the funny way that why you have to run? You just walk slowly and the walk in mindfulness and enjoy your breathing when you go down here. but I say, but I'm worried for you. You can get fall anytime. Yeah. And then they just said that, oh, it's okay because I just saw the sun is coming up and it's warm, and then I just made a light jogging down to Shanghai, and then, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, many story, but I just share a little bit like that, and yeah, but like they always remind me that, you know, something, whatever I do, I have to do it with mindfulness and with awareness, because I think this thing they had been reminding many brother and sister before, that, you know, even though they saw you do something, but they always ask, làm gì đó con? And what are you doing? And then we just say, oh, I'm chopping vegetable, or I'm making tea for you. You know, they know, but like they told me that, oh, you have to say that I'm breathing. They and yeah, it's okay. It's some yeah, like. Thầy Pháp Linh have been said that, yeah, sometimes in our daily life, it's I mean, especially in our community, sometimes we have to deal with our suffering. We have to deal with our anger too. But for myself, I have to see that why I have to worry too much, or why I have to struggle a lot with that thing, and yeah, it happened that, you know, sometimes some brother doesn't come for sitting, and then I look on the left, on the right, or in the front. Then I didn't see my brother come for sitting, and I somehow in my mind that, oh, this person is, you know, lazy. You know, but somehow I don't understand what is happening to my brother, and then I just have to come back to myself, or come back to to taking care for myself, and experience the wonderful of life surrounding me, or, you know, something is coming up inside of myself that, you know, I have more than enough condition. Why I have to worry? Why I have to I get mad with my brothers, and yeah, and then it's come up some sentence in my meditation. It's not a poem, but you know, yeah. Yeah, but like even when we're taking care of our brother, or even for our taking care for ourselves, that if we see that we have joy and happiness in practice, then we feel very nourishing. But like if we saw that, oh, why today I'm like this and like that, and, you know, I always ask myself that how can I do in order to overcome this. Yeah. Yeah. Lately, I have saving, and also planting a lot of tree, and whenever I see a plant giving a flower, it's like, you know, a practitioner having a benefit of fruitful in the practice, then I'm happy too. But somehow even I give a lot of nutrition for the tree, but the tree is get dead anyway. That that I have to see that, oh, why this tree didn't accept the nutrition. Even our practice, like some of the brother, even we give a lot of teaching, with a lot of sharing, but somehow they still refuse in order to accept it. Then they still suffer. Sometimes some of people they suffer as a war in order to to like prevent the practice. Oh, I'm suffer. Don't touch me, you know. And I'm suffer. You know, don't ask me to do this and that, you know. But yeah, living in a community, sometimes we have to break through that notion, because for myself, I always say that I don't want to listen to your suffer. If you want to share to me, then you have to practice. Otherwise, if you want to share in order to say that I'm suffer, you have to taking care for me, then I say no. No, yeah, but maybe I have to change too in order to to think a bit positive. You know, okay, how can I take care for you? You know, but, yeah, but you know that maybe even though you see that I'm joy and happy, but maybe deep down in my side, in myself, I also have suffered too. But maybe it's very minor. I don't see it. But yeah. But maybe someday it can be manifest. And also like Thầy Pháp Linh shared before that, you know, we a big community, and you know some brother they leaving, but you know it's same as when we plant lots of vegetable. You know, this tree it die in order for the other tree to grow up. It made space for the for the other tree to grow up. You know, it's like a playground. You know, if you leave the area for the other person can enjoy. It's also, you know, they can you know, play with. It's also a good chance for people, for us too. Yeah, maybe I will share some of my written. Yeah, this maybe we can call poem. uh, um, I I I I wrote it when I recognize that many things is happening around and also inside of me, and and the title is Things You Just Recognize. Have you seen this body still in peace, and your mind nothing can disturb? You will recognize the miracle of life, the birds singing, the morning light with warm harmony. Bring love to you, and all the stars in the sky are waiting for you to welcome you to this light of freedom. Con có viết bằng tiếng Việt thì con dịch luôn. Cái bài này con viết là điều em chợt nhận ra. Em có thấy thân này vẫn bình an và tâm em không còn gì vướng bận. Em nhận ra đời màu nhiệm không cùng, tiếng chim hót hay bình minh buổi sáng, mang thương yêu với hơi ấm chan hòa, và muôn sao trên cao chờ em đó, đón em vào chân trời mới thênh thang. Dạ con xin hết.
dear brothers, sisters, and dear Sangha. Thank you, Thầy Pháp Áo, for such a very lovely poem. I'm in terms of having memories with Thầy physically, like being able to be close to Thầy. I'm not as lucky as Thầy Pháp Áo or Thầy Pháp Linh to be able to be close to Thầy on tours or like attending Thầy. My memories with him, it's quite little, just like I can count on my fingers. And I mean, anyway, but I still have some times to be close to him physically when he was touring in Thailand or Hong Kong, and somehow I feel like my memories with him was a bit painful because I was a bit like immature at the time, and I wanted his attention. But somehow, the more I tried to approach him physically, the more I didn't get any attention from him. I remember one time when Thầy Pháp Nguyen, who is also our family member, a pair family member, he was attending Thầy on that tour. And then, when Thầy was touring in Hong Kong, and I was also there attending the delegation, and I asked Thầy Pháp Nguyen to bring me to Thầy, just to have a chance to be with him. And Thầy Pháp Nguyen, he knew my intention, and he just wanted to fulfill his role as an elder brother, and he wanted to bring me close to Thầy, and Thầy was like on the hammock. It was very funny. Like Thầy Pháp Nguyen, he said to Thầy, "That's my younger brother in my pair family coming to visit you." And Thầy said, And we just there, remained like peaceful on the hammock. And I was really waiting for an opportunity to like utter like a few words of greeting to Thầy, you know. But somehow Thầy was just like remaining very silent, and Thầy was like looking over the window and enjoying nature and stuff without like having any attention to me. I was like 19 and 20 at that time, you know. I was like upset. Thầy, please turn around, stuff like that. So I thought to myself that I had to look for the other way to connect to Thầy, because this way it seems doesn't work. But I mean, I do have a kind of beautiful memory with him when he was in Mahachulalongkorn University. Thầy Pháp Nguyen was also Thei's attendant at that time as well, and I was able to come to his room at night, and Thầy was like preparing his lesson for tomorrow's talk. And I wasn't able to utter any words that night either. But somehow I was sitting. Thầy was sitting on a chair like this, and his desk is here, and then he was writing something on his notebook, and it was like sitting right behind him. When I recap that kind of memory, I found it very, very funny in a sense, because Thầy was writing, because I didn't want to trouble Thầy as well, because Thầy was like concentrating on preparing his lesson, his Dharma talk tomorrow. So I was just sitting there, and Thầy was writing. After a few moments, he turned around, and he does a massage on my head like this, and then he came back to writing. And after a while, like this, you know, it was like I only saw that kind of experience when I was at home. Like that was the way that I used to do it with my dog. I mean, sometimes I would like. Yeah, I experienced the same thing. Like I was like doing something on my desk, and the dog was just like sitting by me, and sometimes I was like doing the same way. It was very hilarious. I mean, when I thought of that memory, it was like so hilarious. Thầy Pháp Nguyên was there as well. Thầy Pháp Nguyên was there as well. I am not sure he remembered that. Yeah, it was very. But to me, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and there was no verbal communication involved as well for kind of intimacy to be possible, to take place. You know, it is as beyond words. You know, and to me that's enough in terms of physical interaction with Thầy. That's enough for my life. Sounds a bit pity, but it's a reality. Okay, let me be serious a little bit now. In terms of the other way that I practice in order to connect with Thầy, is that like, and sometimes I was sitting in the hall listening to Thay's Dharma talk with the brothers and sisters. And sometimes I was reading his books, or sometimes I listen to his Dharma talks in the room, stuff like that, and the way he speaks, and the way he is, basically. It's just something is very touching to me. And as I said, as I shared earlier, that I don't know whether I am, like, I would say annihilated out of like different reasons. I just play his talk and listen to the talk for a while, just for a short while, like 5-10 minutes. The energy of Thay's mindfulness, concentration, and insight in terms of giving the Dharma talk, it's just like helping me to re-establish my freshness, my motivation to the practice, and help me to recover, to see what I'm supposed to do as his student. And sometimes when I listen to Thầy Dharma talk, I felt ashamed, because what Thầy really wanted us to practice, I wasn't able to apply it seriously yet, out of my immaturity, out of my unskillfulness, or out of my laziness. There's something I'm still like practicing with it still now. But I feel so much close with Thầy by like just observing his way of being in the talk, or his quotes written in the book. And yeah, it just extremely beautiful to me, and I want to continue that. I want to have that manifested longer and longer. And it's something obvious, something very understandable for me, the energy of wanting to contribute to the Sangha, or offer something on my own practice to the Sangha. And I feel like if I'm not offering my best towards my way of being in the community, I feel like this is my oversight. This is my mistake. That I mean, it sounds a bit extreme, but I mean, I take it as the motivation for me to be, I mean, to shape myself up. That's all. I didn't prepare for that.
Don't need to prepare.
Thầy Pháp Linh asked me to sing a song, but
He's been preparing his whole life.
I really wanted to offer something, but I can take another opportunity to offer, because when I'm not well prepared, I want my performance to be perfect, you know. Something very simple. Okay. I could, but I haven't translated that poem into English yet. The translator, would you be happy to help me translating my poem into English? Because I haven't got the English translation yet. Okay. I do have the hobby of writing poem. It's something is there in my heart. I just wanna write down just to remember that experience, nourish my practice. So one of the poems is like a kind of the spirit of being together on this path, despite of whatever difficulties, we still can stick together and walk together on the path. Because this path is so beautiful, by being together, we can nourish, we can bring Thầy into the future. We can continue Thầy. I would like to read this poem in Vietnamese, and I hope that the translators can help me to translate into our Western siblings. Yeah. And this poem's name is Our Group. Our Group. Nhóm chúng mình kỳ lạ lắm, phải không anh?
Our group is quite strange, right, my friend?
Tôi sửa soạn ra đây là một dòng tâm đẹp.
I have prepared here for you a beautiful stream of mind.
Wonderful translation. Một góc an lành, một lời xin phép.
A corner of peace, a word
of permission.
Of permission.
Chép thành câu, thành chữ để nuôi nhau.
Written into words and sentences so we can nurture each other.
Nhóm chúng mình quen biết có bao lâu?
Our group, how long have we known each other?
Quen nhau 10 năm hoặc chỉ mới vài ba tháng.
For 10 years or just a couple of months.
Có cốc nước gừng chia nhau mỗi sáng.
A cup of ginger tea to share with each other each
Sounds
morning.
a bit cheesy. Có chén trà thơm ngưng đồng những mùa yên.
A cup of tea fragrant to still
mùa yên.
To still the seasons as they come by.
Mỗi người là một bức tranh riêng.
Each person is their own picture.
Đâu phải đi chung là hiểu tầng tường mong ước.
Walking together does not mean that we can fully understand each other.
Cái muốn nơi anh tôi dễ gì thấu được.
Your situation, how can I easily understand?
Cả vũ trụ muôn màu, tâm thức ấy anh mang.
This whole universe with all of its colors, the stream of thought that you carry.
Vậy mà đã đi một quãng thiệt là xa.
However, we have walked really far.
Dáng vẻ đôi vai đã trở thành quen mắt lắm.
And the form of your shoulders is very familiar to me.
Dung gì giữa đời hết lòng cùng mưa nắng.
The ease within life, wholehearted with the sun and the rain.
Cõi tâm hiền đâu ngần ngại lúc cho đi. Cõi tâm hiền đâu ngần ngại lúc cho đi.
A kind heart
never hesitate to offer.
Never hesitates to offer.
Nhóm chúng mình đơn giản có vậy thôi.
Our group is just as simple as that.
Tự nhiên thấy thân nhau hơn theo năm tháng.
Through the months and years, we just feel like we are closer.
Đời giàu có những buổi trời hửng sáng.
Life is rich and on those mornings, those really bright mornings.
Đồi xanh cao, sương sớm đời bình minh.
The green hills, the tall green hills, the dewdrops in the morning, and the rising sun.
Ngày vui đó, ngày ưu tư cũng đó.
That day of happiness was there, and that day of sadness was also there.
Lạ lùng như trăng gió thổi lời kinh.
Strange, interesting, like the wind blowing a page of a sutra.
Như mắt theo mây để sông núi nghiêng mình.
Like eyes following the mountains, following the clouds and the rivers.
Mà cúi xuống trước vòng quay nhận thức.
That bows down before the circle of ideas, the cycle of ideas.
Nhóm chúng mình bắt buông từng dấu hỏi.
Our group we catch and we let go of question marks.
Em có nhớ không, ta đã trả lời chưa?
Do you remember if I have responded to your question?
Chờ đến khi nào lòng già ấy yên vừa?
How long must I wait until that heart becomes satisfied, becomes still?
Tâm thức tự vẽ một đường đi thoát lối.
Your own mind, your own consciousness will draw for yourself a way to get out.
Nhóm chúng mình tưởng nhiều nhưng là một.
Our group, we think that there are many, but actually there is just one.
Ta trở thành nhau ngày nào đó chẳng hay.
We become each other before we even know it.
Cách nói, cách đi, cách nhìn nhận thế gian này.
The way we speak, the way we walk, the way that we perceive this life, this world,
Chung một niềm thương yêu đầy hy vọng.
is one with the mind of love, full of hope and love.
Nhóm chúng mình tìm cho ra thế giới.
Our group must find and discover the world.
Mà anh, tôi, sông, núi chẳng ngoài nhau.
That wherein I, myself and you and the mountains and streams are no different from each other.
Sự sống này sẽ vơi bớt những thương đau.
And this life will, there will be less suffering.
Một khối lớn sẽ chữa lành thương tích lớn.
And a big part of it will help to heal great sufferings.
Nhóm chúng mình giữa tuổi hoa lối ngõ.
Our group in the midst of youth and the paths that we may take.
Nơi dòng sông chia hai nửa hoàng hôn.
In the path, in the river that splits into two streams and flows back
Còn nhau đây,
to
còn đó.
to where the sun is setting.
Còn nhau đây, còn đó những tâm hồn.
And still is here, is us and our spirits.
Thầy được thấy các con mình là tri kỷ.
And Thai, our teacher, can see that we are his soulmates.
Dear respected Thai, dear brothers, dear Sangha, and dear sisters. Thank you so much, dear brothers, for this wonderful sharing and panel today. And thank you for being so real and honest. And I feel the Sangha, we are very lucky and fortunate to have wonderful Sangha builders and brothers like you here with us. Yeah. The announcement is very short. When you hear the sound of the bell, we will gather for walking meditation at the Big Bell Tower, and then we have a formal lunch at 12:30 today. And after lunch, there will be more announcements. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.